All right. So thanks for being on the podcast.
No
Have you ever
problem.
done a podcast before?
I have, but not in a little while.
Yeah. Cool. Well, why don't we start off by you introducing yourself and your business and what's going on with you?
Sure. So my name is Montana Cameron. I am a young female entrepreneur of two gyms, a part of the franchise called Nine Round. So I have a location in Langford that just turned 4 on February 24th. And then my newest location in Vic West turned 1 on February 5th. But obviously, because of the pandemic, the gyms have been closed a lot over the last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I've never done the 9 round before, and it's a kickboxing kind of workout, right?
Yeah, it's a kickboxing hit circuit. So the way that it would normally run pre-COVID restrictions is it's 9 different stations, and you do a different workout at each station every day. Always full body, all fitness levels. You get a trainer every time, so they can modify to whatever you need. And normally, because it's circuit, there's no class time, so you just show up whenever, and the trainer starts you at any available station and then takes you through and shows you what to do. And then we closed from March 17th to June 1st. And then when we reopened in June, circuit training and hit training and all that was still allowed in group settings. So we just switched it to booking a time slot instead of showing up whenever, so we could moderate how many people we had.
Yeah.
And we continued that until November 19th when we had to shut down again.
Yeah.
And then we were closed until February 1st. And then I decided to just kind of switch it up and see how I could make it work and be allowed to open. So what I have done is I've made it that it's 4 people max. So everybody's over 3 meters apart.
Mm-hmm.
And then instead of doing a workout at one station, moving to the next, they have 9 different workouts at a board at one station.
Oh, perfect.
So they stay there for the whole 30 minutes, and it's a little bit more self-led. So there's a trainer there to help with form and all of that, but otherwise they just kind of like read and do their own thing.
Cool. And how did you get into being in that franchise? What made you want to buy the franchise?
So I am from Courtenay originally. I lived there till I was 18. Then I moved to Red Deer, Alberta for 2 years, Parksville for a year, and Calgary for a year. When I was in Parksville, when I was 20, I got my nutritional coaching and personal training certifications and was working in a private gym. And I knew from a pretty young age that I wanted to be an entrepreneur and work for myself and not somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So with that first private gym that I worked at, and then at another private gym in Calgary the year after, I just kind of studied the owners and the other trainers and saw like what worked, what didn't. And my plan was that I was going to move home to Courtenay and open up a gym there. But what I wanted to open wasn't franchise. I just like had my own business plan and idea, and it was going to cost close to 800 grand. And I didn't really want to try to find an investor for that much. And I was only 23. Yeah. So banks were not going to lend me that. Yeah. So around that same time that I was kind of building that business plan and trying to figure out costs and all that, I came across somebody who was opening a location of 9 Round elsewhere in BC. And I kind of just looked into it from them. And the franchise was pretty small at that time. There was only, I think, 150 locations in the US and Canada. And now there's almost 900 in 21 countries.
Wow. Crazy.
So yeah, I just kind of called up corporate and was like, hey, friend of mine is doing this. What's the eligibility criteria? And I again was only 23, and I lied and said that I had the startup costs already. So like, yeah, we'll send you the paperwork. And I'm like, oh no. So I packed everything I could fit into my little Toyota Echo, and I drove my butt back to the island. And Victoria was the area that I had been approved for. So got myself here. I set up a bunch of coffee meetings the next day to interview potential investors, and I found one, and it's, yeah, history after
Wow,
that.
crazy. And
Yeah.
what was the cost difference from you starting your own gym to buying one of the franchises?
Well, there's a lot of costs involved. Like, if you mean just startup costs, then it's about $175,000
Oh
to
yeah,
start up a franchise like 9Round. Yeah.
cool. And how do you find investors? How do you go about that? I've never even thought about that.
There's a lot of different ways. I mean, there, sorry, my dog's snoring really loud in the background. So if you hear that, that's her.
Oh my gosh, my parents' dog snores so loud too.
Yeah, my cat snores too, so it might get extra loud. But yeah, so there's a lot of different ways. There are like investment firms that you like bring in your portfolio, and the firm pitches it to investors. The route that I took was I emailed every single person that I thought might have the money or might know somebody who did, who I met through the service industry or through my personal training. And then that's how I came up with mine. So I just made my business plan, and yeah, basically harassed people until somebody said yes, and somebody did. So
Awesome. And then now you have two, so it's obviously going well.
yeah. The pandemic doesn't help, but we're still doing okay. We luckily have some pretty dedicated members who've been with us a long time. So, and with 9Round franchise, you run a pre-sale before they open. And with Vic West, we actually got to over 100 members before we even opened.
Wow.
So Vic West was open for 6 weeks before it had to shut down. In those 6 weeks, it hit the sales numbers that took Langford over 2 years to get to.
Wow.
So yeah, it was definitely
big demand there.
Yeah, big demand. I chose an area that there were no other gyms in, and that has worked out well. And it's right on the Galloping Goose. So most of the people that we have, they just drive by, walk by, bike by, and see us. But also just when I opened Langford, nobody on the island or in Canada really knew what it was. So trying to convince people to sign up for something that's not open yet, that they don't know anything about. So Vic West was a lot of people who maybe came out to try Langford, but it was too far, things like that.
Yeah. And how many people are employed at each place?
I share some employees between the two locations. I currently have 8 employees.
Nice. And yeah, I guess they could go between two. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And on your Instagram page, you talk also a lot about your diagnosis of lupus. Do you want to talk about that at all, or what's that like?
Yeah, so I got diagnosed November 4th, but I've been sick for probably 10 years. I have always just had like a really bad immune system. Not in the sense that I get sick like constantly, which I get sick more than the average person. But when I would get sick, I'd get really, really sick. I've had pneumonia like 4 times in the last couple of years. I've had viral meningitis 3 times in the last 5 years. Wow. Just really extreme things instead of like a normal cold or flu. Yeah. And yeah, just a bunch of other stuff. I also have endometriosis, and what's called chronic pelvic inflammation. So I've had 4 laparoscopic surgeries, and my last one, they took out my left ovary and fallopian tube. And the surgeon then said, there's all this inflammation everywhere in your pelvis, and we have no idea what's causing it. So everything just always kind of came back to inflammation. And then I guess maybe 2 years ago, I started getting night sweats, started getting rashes, got sent to a dermatologist. She said it was acne and precancerous cells, put me on Accutane, and then I got very, very sick from there on out. I started having hair loss, joint pain. The night sweats were way worse. I was so tired all of the time. And I just kind of thought that it was because how much I was working or just like business owner life. And I could never get answers for it. Nothing ever helped. Sleep didn't help. And then, but it would kind of come and go in waves. So end of August, beginning of September, this last year, it started being constant. Every joint and bone and muscle in my body hurt. I had crazy headaches, and I was sleeping like 14 hours a night, taking 2-hour naps, and was still tired. And yeah, I guess when the joint pain started being super constant, and I also had a fever for like 3 months straight. And then so my family doctor went on mat leave, and her locum was like, that doesn't sound normal. Yeah. And so so she sent me to a rheumatologist and for my blood work. And it wasn't an urgent referral at first. And then my blood work came back showing that I had like the like numbers for the tests for lupus, mine were super, super high. And so then I got in within 2 weeks instead of 6 months.
Yeah.
Which is good and bad, I guess. Yeah. So it's been a journey for sure. I'm happy to have a diagnosis, but it also sucks because anything can happen with lupus because it's systemic. So like one day I could be fine and then the next my kidneys could fail, or like my heart could shut down and stuff. So it's it's pretty crazy.
And is that called an autoimmune disorder? Is that what that's classified under? Yeah.
Yeah. My body attacks itself is the best way to put it.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. And has there always been kind of signs of it? Like when you were younger, did you get sick a lot as well, or did it just kind of come on?
My whole life, things have kind of gone in like chronic patterns. So do you know what croup is?
No, what's that?
Okay, so croup is the kids' form of laryngitis, because children, until they're about the age of 9 to 10, they have a very, very small esophagus. And so when you're an adult, inflammation of the vocal cords and throat just causes you to lose your voice. But in kids, it causes their throat to close. And you get this like barking cough, which is the textbook sign of it. I had croup every year until I was 12, so bad every year that I was in the hospital. Wow. And when I was 12, they said I was the oldest kid that they'd ever seen to still have croup. I also got chronic ear infections, and I got mono. And then as I got older, it went chronic sinus infections, chronic tonsillitis and strep, got my tonsils out, chronic lung infections, got bronchitis all the time. I did smoke at that time, so I quit. And then those cleared up, and then the meningitis started, and then like it's just So wow. It's kind of been a long road.
Yeah. And what's the kind of maintenance for something like that? What do you do on a daily basis to try to stay healthy and keep yourself in the best condition?
Yeah, that's a hard one because I'm different day to day. Like my energy levels vary so much, hour to hour, even, I should say. And it's hard to know what's getting sick and what's a flare up too. Mm-hmm. Typically in a flare, I'll get hair loss, fever, rash, night sweats, and joint pain. But those are all like COVID symptoms.
Yeah.
So they've made me go and get COVID tests like probably 15 times in the last few months, which is super annoying. They're always negative because and yeah, it's just tough. So medication wise, I take a medication called Plaquenil twice a day. It's pretty much the base standard for people with lupus or rheumatoid arthritis. And it's an immunomodulator. So it basically changes the way that my body reacts to itself. It kind of like calms down my immune system.
Mhm.
And that one takes about 3 months to work. So I'm just now kind of starting to feel better and see improvement there. And then the second medication they started me on is called methotrexate, which is a chemotherapy agent.
Mm.
And it's an immunosuppressant. So that one, like the immunomodulator calms, the immunosuppressant kills off my immune system so that it can't attack me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with that, I've been on an increasing dose since December. They started me off. It's a once a week thing too. You can't take it more than that, or you can get really sick from it.
Yeah.
So I started off at 3 pills, and now I am up to 10 pills once a week. And the side effects from that, I have to take 1 day a week completely off from everything and not leave my house because I get very sick and very tired.
Hmm.
So medication wise, there's that. I haven't really experimented too much with supplements because I just want my body to get used to the medications and I don't really want any counteraction. Nutrition wise, my appetite has been gone completely. I lost 15 pounds in like 6 weeks back before I got diagnosed, and I haven't been able to put any weight back on. So I just try to eat like healthy calorie dense things like smoothies with like avocado and coconut oil and Greek yogurt and fruit so that I get all of my macronutrients in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And getting lots of sleep, that's super important for me. And just trying to read my body and rest when I need it. And on my good days, I do as much as I possibly can because I know I can't do it on my bad days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you able to work out much with your energy levels right now?
In well, so I also got surgery on both of my legs. I got varicose vein surgery because my veins were damaged from lupus. So I couldn't exercise from November 19th, the same day the gym shut down. That's another story. I woke up from sedation and to my mom being like, you need to contact the gyms and talk to your trainers. Like they just shut gyms down. I'm like, no. So
In the hospital.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I from November 19th until beginning of January, I wasn't allowed to do anything for exercise. And since that, or January and most of February, super active. And then I had to get hand surgery 2 weeks ago today. So I'm just now getting the use of my hand back. So it's kind of gone in waves, but I would say that I gauge my exercise intensity on how I'm feeling. Some days I only have it in me to stretch, and other days I go and do a weights workout, go do a kickboxing workout.
Mm-hmm. Before that, were you one of the trainers at the gym, like working on a regular basis before your diagnosis and everything?
Yeah. The startup of Vic West, I worked 15 hours a day for 6 weeks straight.
Wow.
And that's kind of typical for startup, and that was a lot, but I did it. Normally I work 5 days a week, 4 to 8 hour days. Since the gyms have reopened, I hadn't put myself on the schedule because again, I don't know how I'm going to feel day to day. So I didn't want to like have to last minute call in a trainer because I wake up feeling horrible. And plus the trainers needed the finances. So I just scheduled them instead of myself, and then I cover for them when needed instead.
Mm-hmm.
But I've recently had some staffing changes too, so I've been working 3 days a week the last couple of weeks, and yeah, just kind of trying to figure out my happy medium.
Yeah, cool. Well,
Mm-hmm.
what's your kind of going forward plan with the gyms? Do you want to open another one in Victoria, or you gonna see how the Vic West one continues to go?
I don't really think it's the best time to open a gym.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it'll be that way for at least another year. I do have a license for a third one. Um, and so with that, I have the whole territory of Greater Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure when I am going to open that third one,
Yeah.
or if I'm going to stick with the two. Um, so yeah, that's the right now. But both gyms are still doing good. We're still getting new members. We've had to again make a lot of adaptations, but they're still okay. And yeah, I just don't know if I would open a third like in the next year, but after that we'll see.
Yeah. I was actually just looking at your Instagram page. You can, oh, can you hear me? Oh, there you are.
Yeah, sorry, I got a call. I had
That's okay.
hand.
I was looking at your Instagram. So do you get a free workout? Like everyone gets a free first workout at 9 Round?
Yeah, you got it. So free trial workout. And then we also have a 2-week trial that includes gloves and wraps, and that's $79. So if you're not sure on the first workout if it's something that is for you, the 2-week trial gives you a chance to see the variety in the workouts, meet the trainers, see how it works with your schedule.
And do you guys have like a monthly, like a drop-in thing, or do you have to sign up for a month or a 6 month or something?
We normally have drop-ins, but because of the way that our scheduling website works, we can't do drop-ins right now because the only way to book is a free trial or if you're a member, and our membership is on unlimited basis. We don't do punch cards and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So we have a month-to-month membership. We have 6-month term, 12-month term, 3-month paid in full, 6-month paid in full.
Cool.
Lots of options.
And how does the franchise work? Like you were saying, there's a licensing you have a license for another one. So after you get so much from, I guess, your current ones, do they kind of nudge you and say, hey, you can have another one now? Or how does that?
No, they do have to approve you to get, like, the franchising application process is really thorough. They don't approve very many people. And they, like, each time you go to buy a new one, I bought the last two at the same time. But like when I went to buy the next two, they had to go through the process again to make sure that they were comfortable with me opening more. But basically how it works with franchises is your license is just, okay, you're allowed to open one. You're paying for the name. You're paying, yeah, basically for the name and saying that you're allowed to do it. And then after that comes all the costs of the build out, the equipment, marketing, all that kind of stuff.
Cool. And how do you, I also saw that you were partnered with Lululemon. How did that all come about?
Yeah, I just applied.
Oh, you applied.
So, yeah, so they have an affiliate application program, and I applied through that and got approved. So that's pretty sweet. And Lululemon, my affiliation with them is commission based. So anytime somebody shops their stuff through my link, then I receive a commission, which is awesome because I have no problem promoting Lulu.
Yeah.
I would show you my closet. It's 99% Lululemon stuff.
Yeah.
Sick addiction to that store. So it's an easy thing for me to promote because I've stood behind it for like 12 years. So
Definitely. Yeah. Their leggings are the best. I'm wearing them right now.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. Well, is there anything else going on with you or anything you want to talk about?
I mean, It's been a pretty uneventful year.
Yeah.
Well, fun stuff wise, like it's mostly been a bad um eventful year, but I won't say all bad, because with the whole pandemic I definitely learned how to adapt and adapt quickly.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty big into stoicism, and so definitely having a stoic outlook on everything, and just realizing that a lot of it's not within my control, and
Yeah.
kind of waiting for things to get better. um
Yeah, it's definitely a year where we have to kind of just let go of any control that we had.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just really missing traveling. That's something that I really hope to get back to when we're allowed. I would say that's my biggest thing. That's like every single day I'm like looking at flights, like when.
Where have you traveled before? Or where do you want?
um I've been to Cuba, the Dominican, Mexico. I've been to 23 states, I think. I drove to South Carolina for the owner training for 9 round. That
Cool.
was 12 states, and 3 days there, 3 days back, literally across the United States from Calgary, which was so cool.
Wow.
And I went to my last trip was to Europe, and that was in May of 2019. And that was my first big solo trip. I just bought my ticket there and didn't plan anything. I just winged it for 3 weeks.
Cool.
Uh, yeah, I went backpacking, met a lot of really cool people, went to 7 countries. It's really fun.
Wow, that's really cool. Just take
Mhm.
a take a trip like that when you didn't know where you were going when you went to the airport. Is that what you mean?
No, I booked my flight into London, but I didn't book anything past that. I just kind of showed up in London and figured it out.
Cool. And
Mhm.
where do you want to go to when you can fly again?
Wherever lets us in and doesn't require a quarantine
Yeah.
there or when we come back.
Yeah.
I would say Southeast Asia is pretty high on the list. I want to
Yeah.
go to the Philippines, yeah, Cambodia, Vietnam. Um, I would like to go back to Europe and do more of Europe.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm really not picky. I'll pretty much go anywhere.
Yeah, well, hopefully sometime this year they'll things up and we can go somewhere. I know it's funny. I didn't really want to travel, but now that we can't, I kind of want to. So I'm
That's
ready.
human nature. When something's taken away from you, you want it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, thanks for chatting and being on the podcast.
no problem. Happy to do it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'll send you a message when it's going to come out, maybe the week before.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good
Okay,
night.
bye.